Greetings all, I'm Jake and this is Rave Vinyl Reminiscence, the channel that I usually introduce as being the sharing of a passion for hardcore from around 91 to 95. But sometimes we've got to step outside those years slightly. And in this episode we do so for very good reasons. We're going on a musical ride to and through where it all began for me. Following convoys, dancing in fields, we're exploring some of my earliest rave memories. How are you all doing, everyone? Good to be back, good to have you back. Now this is another key video that I've been looking forward to making since the channel began. I'm going to be taking us through a selection of the main tunes that are stamped in my mind from the very first raves I went to as a young lad. I have some very precious, although pretty woolly memories of that time, and I'm going to try and bring them alive along the way. I'll be pitching some of these lovely old tracks up to balance out the difference in the speeds along the set and to keep the whole mix driving at a particular pace. Now, as a DJ, I can tell you that unlike later tunes, some of these oldies are all over the place with beat counts. So if you just lay them down and start mixing, it can get a bit scruffy. You know, things don't always happen in a logical pattern of 8 with these. You've got sections coming in, switching and dropping out at really weird times. So, I've done a bit of homework, carefully counting out odd numbers of bars and pushing off in odd places, all to balance out the chaos and give you a nice smooth transition in mix. As I wanted to really showcase these old classics as best I could. And I'm happy with how it turned out. Now once again, this mix is the right length to replicate one side of an old school 90-minute mixtape. Just like the ones we used to cane back in the day. The full mix will be on its way soon, as always, in the next upload after this. So come with me, back to the very start. My first ever raves were outdoor parties back in early 91 when I was just 16. And these early do's are a really key memory in my life. I was at a point in my life when my sense of freedom was literally blooming exponentially. Now able to ride my first motorbike on the road, which was a huge step in autonomy. And secondary school had come to an end. The future was like a big open horizon. I can remember 2 of these outdoor raves in particular. One was somewhere in Hampshire and the other one was like around the East Horsley area. I have no idea who organised them. I can't even really remember how we found out about them. Probably off one of those pirate radio stations at the time. But all we needed to do was get sorted and make sure we had a seat in one of the cars that was going. I don't remember what excuse I gave my parents actually for suddenly wanting to be out all night and probably half of the next day. But it obviously washed because I was going. So to kick this set off with, I've chosen a really early track. And this is one that I remember so clearly from back in this time. I don't know why this tune in particular welded itself into my head. I'm not sure if it was played loads in these parties or whether it was just played once at a real peak time for me. Which is all it takes sometimes, isn't it, for music to leave a permanent stamp. This tune is Strings of Life by Rhythm is Rhythm and it's from back in 1987. This is a really musical track and one of them tunes that had me doing that thing I've laughed about in a previous episode. Where you have it in your head, you don't know what it's called, you've got no YouTube or internet to search for it on, so you just end up doing this appalling rendition of it to DJs that you know. You know, it goes... I remember everyone meeting in the car park of a pub called the Hand and Spear in Weybridge. Although it probably looked more like this because I'm pretty sure it was night by then. We all had to wait for some bloke who knew the right people to receive the phone call. The idea being, I think, that the rave's location had been kept secret right up to the last minute, presumably to keep the police and the council off the trail. Now, this was pre-criminal justice bill, but it still felt like an undercover operation. It all added to this sense of you were a part of something special, you know, a bit dodgy. So it's time to mix the Strings of Life tune out and into the next track. We're getting serious now, and this is a beautiful example of the rave music of the era. It's dark, it's incredibly mature, and still to this day sends shivers down my spine. Just a short run in, and this track marks the energy for this set moving forwards. Joey Beltram, Energy Flash from 1990. Such a powerful underground sound. When I hear this now, I'm instantly pulled back in time to knocking at mates' houses to see if they're coming out, to the little hideouts in the park or in the woods where we gather for a smoke. A mixture of the chaos that defines the teenage mind, along with the psychedelic wonder that this tune exemplifies. Music, man, the time machine we have developed. We all have our tunes of an era, don't we? People talk about the soundtrack of my life. Lovers sometimes have their song. It's the emotional connection we make with the actual sound of the tune, or sometimes it's just some deep, meaningful lyrics that tell our story perfectly. Ecstasy, ecstasy, ecstasy. So anyway, back to the story. The main guy has received the phone call now, meaning that at least one person knows where the party's happening. Now, I have no bloody idea how this next bit coordinated effectively, and I definitely don't remember playing any particularly useful part in the process. But car engines fired up, along with their stereos, and everyone followed someone, somewhere. I don't know how far we travelled, but the eventual destination was usually a country car park in the middle of nowhere. Car after car rocked up and the crowd slowly gathered, all ready for a walk into the woods there. A very dark walk with just the odd torch flashing around us. It felt like we ventured for miles, listening intently for the direction of the music. And I remember as we got closer and closer, the whole experience was kicking in. Things were getting a bit interdimensional. It was time to leave the normal world as we know it and spend the next 6 hours in Wonderland. Next track is another belter from this era. It's on the same label as the last tune and very much of the same energy. Now imagine hearing this as the strobe lights broke through the cover of the forest. Absolute classic, this one.
I'm bigger and bolder and rougher and tougher. In other words, sucker, there is no other. I'm bigger and bolder and rougher and tougher. In other words, sucker, there is no other.
We're not in Kansas anymore, Dorothy. This is Human Resource, Dominator from '91. An absolute anthem sound from this period. We had this on a mixtape that we totally rinsed. And hearing its menacing sound today, I'm delivered flashes of memories. Different places, different faces, all hidden away in the vaults of my mind. Now approaching the party, we could see a small sea of bodies bouncing up and down. The trodden path illuminated now by the lights, and the music getting louder and louder with every step.
I'm bigger and bolder and rougher and tougher. In other words, sucker, there is no other. No other. No other. I'm bigger and bolder and rougher and tougher. In other words, sucker, there is no other. I'm the one and only Dominator. I'm the one and only Dominator. Wanna kiss myself.
Everything was starting to speed up in one's awareness, and the whole environment was hectic. But luckily, the music was gentle enough to hold your hand through the experience.
I'm the one and only Dominator. I'm the one and only Dominator. Wanna kiss myself. Wanna kiss myself.
So, party's in full swing. Keep in mind, all of the experience, let's call it that, was brand new to me and pretty intense. I was in awe of this whole thing. Miles away from home, middle of nowhere. Didn't know anyone except for a few friends who I don't even think were with me anyway. And it's at this point that my memories become very abstract and start to melt. As the woods and the music slowly consumed me. Faces popping in and out. Brief conversations that just happened. Or did they? I think I need to sit down for a bit. This next track is a defining tune along the road to my love for hardcore. Hearing this for the first time at one of them raves, barely clinging on to reality, was actually life-changing at the time. It left a memory which is so clear I can both see it and feel it right now. Nice long run together before this animal of a track breaks out.
Wanna kiss myself. I'm the one and only Dominator. I'm the one and only Dominator. Wanna kiss myself. I'm the one and only Dominator. I'm the one and only Dominator. Wanna kiss myself. Wanna kiss myself. I'm the one and only Dominator. 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 I'm the one and only Dominator.
3, 2, 1, 0.
What a sound! Outlander Vamp from '91. Hearing this there, I remember thinking raving is the best thing in the universe ever. As a young impressionable man with my mind smashed wide open, this tune left an eternal impression on me. This is an absolutely brutal tune, a proper rave track. I don't think there's ever been anything made since that could beat this bad boy bare knuckle. If I had to pick one tune that best epitomises the outdoor raves I went to and the energy of this chapter in the scene, for me, it's this.
3, 2, 1, 0.
I've got to highlight this bit I love about this track. Listen to the way it switches here. We have those powerful staccato stabs and then it just starts rolling. It's bloody beautiful. Okay, as if the Outlander tune isn't mind-melting enough on its own, this next mix creates absolute chaos. We have a little bit of chopping first just to introduce the approaching track. And then we throw it in just as Vamp kicks off again, creating this powerful, hectic, where the crap am I run together. This tune is, of course, T99 Anasthasia from 91. I think that's how you pronounce it. And this tune fluctuates between that heavier sound and some lighter runs that are some cool relief at this point in the set. Back at the rave, I got memories of these little hills as you stumbled around, each with small gatherings of people on. As you approached, they'd welcome you into the little world they'd created, sat in a circle together. Everyone you encountered would run through the classic conversation checklist, asking those now legendary questions. What's your name? Where are you from? What are you on? There was a main dance area which, on reflection, was just another bit of field, with the decks, generator, speakers and strobes all set up. But there was this one thing that really stuck in my mind. There was these little crews of people, probably like two, going around putting popping candy in your mouth and smearing a big thumb load of Vicks under your eyes. That precious gift, when you were a little bit worse for wear, left you wobbling around feeling like you'd just eaten a wasp's nest and you had a slush puppy thrown in your face. In fact, all in all of my memories of these raves feels like an abstract part of a movie. You know, where it goes all wobbly as the character goes into a dream. Anyway, time for the next tune. We're going to return now to that trancey sound and into another beauty from this era. A short little run as the T99 track lays back a little bit, and then we switch over to a moody entry for the next tune. This is Tronik House, Uptempo from '91. My copy's on XL Recordings. And now, coincidentally, in line with the track title, I'm going to crank the pitch up just a little just before the drums start. I want to increase the pace of the second half of this set so the upcoming tracks can work at their best. I seem to remember at one of these parties the music suddenly stopped and the whole thing ground to a halt for a while because they'd run out of petrol in the generator. I'm pretty sure we had to wait for someone to go and get some fuel, but that could quite easily just been my brain shutting down for an hour, to be fair. So the next tune for this set is such a potent blast from the past for me. It's a crazy little number with so much going on. There's a nice long smooth run together and this new track sits comfortably in the mix right to the end. This tune is Mark 1 Hoovers and Spray Cans from '91. My copy once again is on XL, but you saw the original label there on the screen. We've got dentist drills going off in the background and all sorts in this. This track rocket launches me back to being 17 and being in the sixth form. Reminds me exactly why I bummed me A-levels. Way too focused on having it at the weekends. Such is the nature of the stars and the planets that at some point, inevitably, the sun starts to rise. And that, when you've been dancing all night in the middle of nowhere, is pretty weird.
I just can't get enough. I just can't get enough. I just can't get enough.
Having daylight slowly illuminate the place you've been adventuring in for the past 6 or 7 hours is quite disorientating. It starts to dawn on you that you're not in a club, you're in the middle of the countryside or woodland or a bloody great foggy field. One outdoor rave we went to, we realised in the morning we'd actually been dancing around for the whole night in an old quarry. So life slowly starts to get more and more real as it gets brighter. The enormous magical wonderland you've been traipsing around in all night slowly shows itself to actually be quite a small area, and you scan the crowd for your mates. It's mad to think, you know, that there was no security at these events. I know that's kind of obvious that there wouldn't be, but when I look back I think, wow, we were young and we were in the middle of nowhere, and at no point do I remember feeling worried or in danger. To be fair, I could have been kidnapped by the machine elves and whisked off to Pluto in their spaceship the way I was feeling. I probably would have carried on dancing, but it is an illustration of the times and the whole buzz. No one had a fight, no one got robbed. I just remember a safe, loving space that we all created together. Now, eventually, of course, the music stopped for good and it was time to head home. Although probably not wise to go straight back to your house with your mum and dad sat at the table having breakfast. Oh, welcome home. Sit down, I'll warm you a croissant. So usually it was down to whichever mate had a free house, or it meant spending the next few hours sat somewhere in a car. Talking about going back to reality, I do remember going back to school, or sixth form, on the Monday after my first rave. I remember feeling like I'd changed in some way, like I knew something that no one else did. It was an odd feeling. I remember feeling like only other ravers knew what I was talking about. So it was both connecting and dividing at the same time, because none of my other mates at school were into it. So it's time to mix in the next tune. And this marks another page turning in the story of my early raving. It's a classic beyond all classics, and it's a tune that reminds me of a bunch of raves we went to late 91 into 92, all held at the Surrey Hills Hotel. Now you won't guess the tune from the label because my copy's on a compilation release, but once it comes in you'll be all over it. I've picked a point a little way into the track to set it off because it works really nice for this run and takes us straight into a classic, timeless opener. So reminds me of the Surrey Hills era. This is of course Zero B's Lockup from 91. These little Surrey Hills raves were spot on. Held, as you can guess from the name, in a little hotel in Surrey. Really well put together and a total mashup. I've said in a previous episode, it's amazing to me that the organisers of these dudes managed to run as many of them as they did. I can't imagine what the normal hotel guests must have thought when they caught sight of the sweaty, gurning youngsters emerging from the noise downstairs. It's actually bloody hilarious thinking how annihilated everyone was there. Our times have changed. Well, we're going to launch the next mix now. This track is a quality amalgam of energies. I've literally thrown it in here as Zero B pauses, and then we switch straight over for the drums. This tune, its first projects right before from 91. Lovely track, switching from that nice dark sound to a tasty wide open piano section. These little hotel raves delivered my first experience of a half-decent laser show, and what it was like to stand there in a daze with smoke all around you and a blanket of laser floating down just above your head. The next track I chose for this deep dive into my early raving days is a beautifully produced number. I've set it up so I can drop it in the moment the heavier sound falls away. Many of you will know this one the moment I touch the crossfader.
Drop the bass. Why don't you move, damn it? Cut the mid-range, drop the bass. Why don't you move, damn it? Cut the mid-range, drop the bass. Why don't you move, damn it? Cut the mid-range, drop the bass. Why don't you move, damn it?
This is Keep the Fire Burning by the House Crew from '91. One of the many great tracks cut on Production House. You can see more of those on the episode I did on that label. But this sound, man, this is what it was all about back then. Mate at the time owned this record and we used to mix around his house. And it was one of them tunes that got pulled out and thrown onto the platter every time without fail. Proper classic '91 rave tune. These hollow tube sounds are just incredible on this track, so deep and rich, just the nuts on a big system. Magical. Such treasured memories and emotions beckoned by those sound waves. Now the House Crew tune leaves us with just one more selection to complete this journey. I've shared some of my memories of a very special time in history. The now legendary outdoor rave parties that I was blessed to have been around for. And the gift of being able to hear these incredible tunes when they were fresh out of the box. Innovative, mind-blowing. I've also remembered some of the great raves at that little Surrey Hills hotel venue. And shared at least the bits I can with you here. Now of course, many of you out there will have your own memories of this time, and your own versions of these nights. My memories are blurry and yet oddly at the same time powerful emotionally. And the last tune I've picked for this mix is one that absolutely smashes those memory gates open and lights up the scene for me as if I was right back there. Does that every time I listen to it. So much so in fact I try not to listen to it too often because I don't want to overwrite that experience. It's another truly defining track, marking a beacon along the road to my love for hardcore. So let's wind the House Crew tune down and set this off from the start. As you saw there, this tune is the mighty Night in Motion by Cubic 22. A total ripper from '91. This tune absolutely tore the arse out of the dance floor back then.
Party time!
Man, this tune was the works. Raw, gritty, it is flat out early 90s rave. And to balance that spiky hard edge, this tune also delivered my first gurningly beautiful hands in the air experience, with this lovely euphoric breakdown that just builds and builds. Cranking this up, I'm right back there at the Surrey Hills Hotel. That blanket of laser lowering down through the smoke layer. Smiles everywhere. Take it away, Cubic 22. Nice, very nice. Well, that's almost the end of our journey together here. Before we play out with the rest of the track, I'll remind you as always, the full mix is on its way soon. It will be the very next upload on the channel. I want to say cheers to DJ Ande of Carmen Recordings for letting me use a clip from his monster drum and bass track called Crystals. It was in one of the trippy scenes earlier. I'll put a link to that tune in the description. Check it out, it's brutal. Thanks to a very old friend Kate for fishing out and scanning an old flyer for me, and for helping me get my memory of some of these early days in some order. She's one of a number of long-term friends that have come and gone over the years. You know, as life does its thing, but they've stayed sound as a pound all the way. I've spoken before about a certain mindset and outlook on life that just seems to ooze from the people who live through these times. A kind of take on life that was born from those experiences. This becomes clearer when I go to old school events now and get chatting with old farts like me. The warm welcome I've received when I've played out, the new friends I've made. Just a certain connection and kindness. Here on this channel, as I said before, I have the widest observation of that theory. I've seen strangers offering support to each other in the comments. Conversations going on that are nothing but genuine friendliness, respect and love. It's just something about that old raver's attitude. Like our souls are still wandering the mirage of those long gone nights, smiling at each other, all feeling as one. And even the younger souls who weren't old enough to have been a part of it at the time, but who feel drawn to this music and the stories, they too seem to share a certain energy and a certain character. Talking of characters, making this episode reminded me of a bit of philosophy I read some time ago, about the characters that come in and out of our lives, and the unique part each person acts out in the play we call our life. And how important it is to look back with gratitude for all the chance meetings that have happened, the turning up of the right person at the right time, the people who've inspired us or set us off in a certain direction, or helped us through something. This writer suggested we could imagine a point right towards the end of our lives, with all the people we've met and interacted with over the years standing in front of us, and how we might imagine the love we'd feel for them all, and the deep sense of thanks for the part they played in our story. Thing is, and this being the key point of the reflection, we might notice that some of the people who were a pain in the arse in our lives, who brought us problems or maybe broke our hearts, would also be standing in that crowd. Is it possible we might even feel a sense of love for them in them closing moments? The strength of character they required us to conjure up, and the person they actually helped us to become. Anyway, you're all key players in my life right now, just by being here and sharing these memories with me. Who knows, maybe some of you out there, at least once back in the day, were one of the smiling faces that chatted away with me on one of those hills in Hampshire, or in a chill out area, chewing your face off. For all these things, I thank you. Until next time, be lucky, love and respect to you all. See ya.